to meet the required demand in the market, more concern or more focus will be on production. And then overall objective here in maturity stage, you will observe defend market share and extend product life cycle. So we have to try to expand the market share. We have to defend the market share. We have to try to we have to try to protect our market share, and then extend the product life cycle. How we can prolong the different stages when we are into maturity stage. How we can prolong this maturity stage so as to prevent the particular offering going to the decline stage. Then the last stage which comes finally, that is the decline phase. So in this decline phase of the industry, the generic strategies which the strategist can plan is overall cost leadership. So overall cost leadership. So in the decline phase, we have to be more concerned about the cost of the product. So as number of the customers will be declining, the market share is declining, and then manufacturing, promoting the particular product or offering becomes costlier, and that is how our major focus in decline phase. If we want to be into profits, we have to focus more on cost, and therefore we can focus on this strategy, that is overall cost leadership, and also the focus strategy. The market growth rate at we as we discussed is negative in the decline phase. Market is not growing further. However, it is declining. It is on a decline phase. The number of segments are very few. Then intensity of competition is changing. Sometimes the competition will be high. Sometimes some competitors will withdraw their offering from the market. So competition intensity of this competition will be changing. Then the emphasis on product design will be very less, as well as focus on process will be also less. And then major functional areas of concern in this decline stage will be general management and finance. So how do we manage this product? The general management and the financing. So this particular product line or maybe the strategic business unit which we are dealing with, how we will manage it effectively and efficiently so as to have more profitability. And then financing, how do we allocate the different resources so as to ensure with minimum type of resources how we can be able to generate more profitability. So these major functional areas of concern at this decline stage will be general management and finance, and the overall objective will be consolidated, maintain, harvest, or then exit. So in decline phase, we have to understand, are there any chances, is there any scope of further renovating the product? Is there any scope of further giving growth to this particular product or SBU? So we can have different objectives, maybe of consolidating, that is, we have to consolidate the market share, we have to maintain or harvest, or we can plan for exit. If there are no possibilities of further growth or even stability, we have to then stop the particular product line or that particular SBU, and we can plan for exit. So this is a broad picture of ILC, that is industry life cycle, and then what are the different strategic implications this ILC poses on the strategist or the manager, which can help manager to formulate appropriate strategies at appropriate stages of industry life cycle that we have understood. So among these three important criteria which we talked about some time back, that is the three criteria: industry life cycle, the current position, and structure of industry, that is five forces. So the first criteria which we have discussed. So while discussing this, we have talked about the three generic strategy also, but however, we'll have more in-depth discussion about these three generic strategies later in other slides. So this is industry life cycle and the different strategic implications of that industry life cycle at different stages. So talking broadly about this business unit level strategies or generic strategies. These business unit level strategies or generic strategies, they are an integrated and coordinated set of commitments and actions the firm, that is that particular business unit, uses to gain a competitive advantage by exploiting core competencies in the specific product markets. So at business unit level, we have to understand what market we are serving, what are the different products, what type of company competitors are there, and then how do we have a competitive advantage with the proper appropriate use of available resources. How do we create a competitive advantage? That we have to give a thought, and then whatever actions or commitments which we coordinate, that we can say the business unit level strategies. So going further with these generic strategies, the Michael Porter has suggested three general types of positioning strategies to achieve competitive advantage. These three generic strategies are defined along with two dimensions: strategic scope and strategic strength. So these three strategies now will be going towards understanding the three strategies which Michael Porter has suggested for business unit. So these three strategies we will see in the next slide that will be defined along with two dimensions. Two criterias will be used. Two dimensions are there which we have to take into consideration. That is, first is strategic scope. What is the strategic scope and strategic strength? So along these two dimensions, we will formulate the strategies which we are calling it as a generic strategies. So these two important parameters or dimensions. First is strategic scope. Strategic scope looks at the size and composition of the market you intend to target. So this strategic scope, what does it mean? Is it is about size and composition of the market. What is the size of the market? What is the composition of the market? What are the different consumers? What is the further scope? So that can be defined through size and composition. So strategic scope, when we say strategic scope, what does it mean is what is size and composition of the market where you want to enter. Second is strategic strength. So it is a supply side dimension and looks at the strength or core competency of the firm. So when we are talking about strategic strength, it is dimension which is supply side, that means company side, firm side. So strategic strength means what is the strength or core competency of the firm in serving the market, what capability or strengths company has for serving that particular market. So these two dimensions are important: strategic scope and strategic strength. When we are talking about generic strategies, these two important dimensions we have to discuss, understand: strategic scope and strategic strength. So strategic scope is about market, strategic strength is about firm. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
Any query so far?
No, sir.
Feel free to ask. Sagar.
Clear, sir. Clear, sir.
So, if you have any query, you can feel free to ask. You tell me, are we going fast or with an appropriate speed? Are you
Speed is
understanding?
okay. Okay, okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So, for today's session, what we'll do is we'll stop here only. Uh, but before going, let me tell you, in the next class, we'll be talking about generic strategies, and that will be analyzed, and that can be formulated by considering these two dimensions, that is strategic scope and strategic strength. So, from here, we'll discuss what are the different generic strategies and how these are important for managing a strategic business unit. That we'll talk about in the next session. Is it okay?